Yo, what's going on YouTube? Hayden back making another brand new Crypto TV episode. In today's video, we'll be looking at Litecoin, Bitcoin, Ethereum, ZRX or OX to US dollar. As always, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications, leave a giant thumbs up if you like the content and want to see more. Otherwise, let's jump into today's video. As you guys know, I did just recently unlock the community tab on this channel, which is absolutely awesome. I thought we were only allowed to get it, or YouTubers, content creators were only allowed to get it when we reached 10K subscribers. We're at 5,300 and climbing, and they gave it to me early, so that's absolutely awesome. I've been trying to take advantage of it and using it as much as I can. I posted a poll today, or a question I wrote, as you guys can see. That's where I got the ZRX from. I posted a comment and it said, what coin should we review tonight? Comment below. And a lot of you guys use that. Hopefully you guys are getting it. It pops up in the feed. You should be able to see that. Let me know if you're having any trouble with that or if you got it below. But a lot of people commented. We got 13 comments basically telling me which coins they want me to review. So Hayden Schreier, you are the lucky guy. I'm going to be doing ZRX today. And to answer Joshua Penrod, he said, I'd like to hear more about Litecoin and what the platform is doing to stay competitive with XRP and others we hear so much about. And I will also be answering that question today, talking about Litecoin and its movements in what direction and how it's going. So we're going to be doing that. We got a lot of comments. So Zcash, Anon, BAT, ZRX, Litecoin, Hydro to BTC. And we're going to be eventually doing all these coins. So I do appreciate all you guys for getting involved in that. I really do appreciate that. But otherwise, let's jump into today's episode. Like I said, I do have an article to review too. So as you guys can see, we are at a market cap of 181 bill, 24-hour volume 15.6, and Bitcoin dominance 52.8, saying pretty much exactly the same. We're seeing really no movement in either direction. I'm going to refresh that to see whether or not I actually did. So again, really not much of a difference. 24-hour volume is actually 13.4, so a slight decrease in volume. Bitcoin dominance 52.7, market cap 183, again slightly lower. So we are seeing a day of consolidation, slightly less volume. So we're seeing the markets slip a little bit lower. As you guys can see, out of the top 10 coins, let me just move my hand down here. As you guys can see, the top 10 coins, only 3 out of the 10 seem to be doing fairly low, sluggish, I guess. Ethereum down 0.13, Bitcoin Cash, and then Litecoin, unfortunately, down 0.91. Otherwise, the other coins really aren't doing much. So to say that those are doing sluggish is an understatement comparing it to the rest of the market. The other 7 coins are only up by like 1-2% max. We have XRP, the only one that's really doing fairly well, up 4.38%. Otherwise, majority of the market, there's a lot of red, honestly. A lot of red I'm seeing. A lot of red, actually. A couple here and there. We see some green, but for the most part, I guess the market is slightly lower than what we were seeing yesterday. Moving on, though, we do have this very good article. So I'm actually going to, if I remember, I'll post a link in the description below for those of you who wanted to know what Litecoin is doing and how it is progressing. So this is an article by CCN. Crypto Coin News, I'm going to assume. And it says, Litecoin's Franklin Richards says cryptocurrency will be institutionalized, and that's okay. As I scroll down, he gives a lot of information. This is a lot of information on this article. I just want to get to the important parts. So he says, where is it? Okay, so why Litecoin in particular? Litecoin was just because Bitcoin was too expensive. It's a bad thing to say, but it's a psychological thing that affects most people, and I don't think we should ignore that. People look at something like Bitcoin and say, this is too much money, and they invest in Litecoin because it's cheaper. At that time, Bitcoin was just breaking past $100, and I was sitting down with my mother in a pub. We should get one of these. And kindly lady accompanying Franklin smiles and lets out a chuckle. I turn to her and ask what's her reaction, knowing full well son, I could expect from one of my parents buying something you can't see. That's kind of funny. Why would you buy something you can't see, touch, feel, or hold? So that's pretty funny, but it's technology. And he basically talks about the coins, clashing together. He references Charlie Lee right here. He says most of the value will be derived from people invisibly using it without knowing. There's only certain section of us that are hardcore into it, like I'm going to hold my private keys. It's the future, down with the government. His eyes light up. I like to distance myself from those people. I think we should be working together instead of slapping down these things. We should be showing them there is a better way. And he then talks about capitalism. It says, I don't think regulation is necessarily needed. He stated, catching me off guard, since so many people point to the lack of regulation as the single biggest barrier to institutional adoption for cryptocurrencies. Franklin answered is unexpected, but he continues to justify his response in his delightfully British and articulate manner. We can't regulate something without controlling it. Very true. And it will do is inhibit its growth. If states are very friendly and welcoming to it, which they should be, that would be better. But even if they put a ban on Bitcoin, people will still use Bitcoin, and we always have. There's a saying which I don't think is passed around enough anymore, and that's, you can take your country out of Bitcoin, but you can't take Bitcoin out of your country. That's actually a really cool quote, and I do actually want to use that. So we have another question. What about those who believe Litecoin will replace Bitcoin or see Bitcoin 2.0? I think Bitcoin will always have its place as number one. Remember that, guys. At least for the foreseeable future. Part of it is provenance being the first of its kind. The brand is very strong. That's why I think people like Roger Ver and those who are big into Bitcoin Cash just say Bitcoin Cash, and they push the word Bitcoin. Very true, because they know how strong the association is. His face flushes and says, if they didn't have the association in its name, Bitcoin Cash would not be anything worth its value it currently has. So that is very cool and a very interesting quote. Definitely let me know what you think about that. So what are the main advantages of Litecoin? We have lower fees, faster block times, but let's be honest with ourselves. We may do faster block times, but having faster block times means that those blocks are less secure because it takes 2.5 minutes to roll back the block rather than 10 minutes. But Litecoin is very strong and But Litecoin is very strong and it is very much a complement rather than a competitor. Bitcoin will be number one for a very long time, but these two things strengthen each other. We don't compete. We benefit, especially with the Lightning Network and atomic swaps. So obviously, we've talked about the Lightning Network before. It says with the Lightning Network coming out, if you want to send money over it, and atomic swaps, I can send my Litecoin and I can pay you in Bitcoin, and it's just done automatically and seamlessly. It's not completely there yet, but it will be. So it's basically a way to transfer coins using the Lightning Network as a payment method. Then he talks about the Litecoin Foundation and Charlie Lee. The Litecoin Foundation is not non-for-profit in Singapore, set up to support the ecosystem of Litecoin. So we are not connected to Litecoin. We do not develop Litecoin. We simply support the business as well as people looking to learn more about the technology. If you were to get rid of the foundation, Litecoin would still exist by itself as a strong, secure form of money. As long as it's separate and not baked into the thing, it is okay. But otherwise, he does, go off on what exactly the issues are with Litecoin. And basically, this is a really good article summary. I don't want to read word for word the whole article for you guys. I'll link it in the description. But he says, here you go. Where do you see this whole thing in 10 years? He's got much bigger than it is now. I believe it will take a huge step towards institutional side and it being trickled down into users without them necessarily realizing it. I won't speculate on the price of the assets, but I will say that if you talk to me in 10 years from now, we'll look back and go, wow, everyone was panicking that this thing was dying and this was in the gutter. He grins and his mom smiles. I return with a gesture. Compared to assets like gold with a market cap of 7 trillion, we're a fraction of that. We have a long way to go. We're just getting started, so buckle up. But that's very funny. We may come back 5 years from now, all of us, and talk about cryptocurrency and Litecoin, and we might laugh at the fact that Litecoin is $40 because we may see Litecoin at $8,000 in 5 years from now. It's very possible 10 years from now. And then this small little trickle in time may not be as big as we realize it once was. But moving on, sorry for repeating or reading it a lot word for word. But it is a lot of information. I'll try to link it in the description down below. But as you guys can see, Litecoin is having a bit of difficulty right now. Are we anticipating to move lower or are we going to consolidate further? That's a very big question. Let me add that relative strength indicator to it because that is very important, as you guys know. As you guys can see, still trading below the line of support, which is interesting. And what I mean by that is we're currently oversold. We are still oversold on the RSI. As I move over, you can see right here, we are oversold. And that means we are most likely going to consolidate out, trade sideways, or we are going to move up fairly quick. I personally think in the long run, or the short-term long run, for the 4-hour charts, we should see some sort of gradual move in this direction back up to its high-low MMA. Wow, I did not mean to do that, but you get what I'm saying. This high-low MMA right here. Some sort of gradual move catching us back up to the 4-hour, seeing prices as high as $48. Relatively quick is what I am anticipating. We are still oversold. $40 is still a support. Very shocked, though, that we did fall this low, but we have to cope with it, deal with it, and move on from that. I am anticipating a movement back up to around $48 for Litecoin on its 4-hour. Bitcoin, on the other hand, different topic. Bitcoin is doing a very interesting scaling down. You can see there is so much support for this coin below like $5,500. I know the current price is $5,497, but you can see all of these wicks right here are proving to us on the daily that we are hitting some sort of very, very, very strong resistance. Now, will this hold? We will have to find out. I'm trying to see whether or not there was any sort of support down at these levels. We have yet to see anything on the charts. Yeah, you can see right here where the current price is. It's hitting 55.18. You can see the bottoms right there. That is what it's hitting currently. You can see it's had previous wicks. Hold on. It's had a previous wick in the past retest of this level. So there is a slight support where we're currently at. It'll be very interesting. Again, the biggest thing to note is we are extremely oversold on the daily, which is another really big indicator. The fact that we're oversold on the daily, not just the 4-hour, but the daily charts, is a really good indicator. This is probably rock bottom for this coin. It's still very possible for us to go lower, but this is definitely a good opportunity to buy in or start scaling in. Start to buy in. That's what I would do, is start to buy in at these levels. You know, oversold on the daily. That's very seldom are we in that position, so it is a good buying opportunity. Again, I do anticipate a move back up to 5,800. Eventually, a move back up to our top at 6,500. I do think this is a short-term thing, but I think this coin is going to jump about $1,000 within the next couple of weeks. Ethereum. Very odd, but Ethereum has found a support. Still oversold or barely coming back into oversold on its relative strength indicator. Trading out sideways, as always. Support is at 170. You can see a lot of sideways movement. I'm going to move this up, actually. You guys can see we're actually having a support at around, 170.50. So $170.50. Trading sideways. A lot of support here. We're going to trade out sideways. Basically, the reason for this is so we can get out from being, extremely oversold at 9 on the relative strength indicator. Trading out, consolidating sideways brings this back out of being oversold into a more neutral level. And again, on a 4-hour, I am truly anticipating a run back up to 195 due to the fact we tanked so quickly and so fast that a movement back up is almost expected, because that's what we see after all these runs. Lastly, ZRX. Have not looked at ZRX in a while. I'm looking at this on Coinbase. I probably shouldn't because of how recent it is. That is another thing I wanted to point out. And I'll do that in a second. No, I didn't want to do that. Sorry. I'm trying to find, let's do ZRX to BTC. There we go, to Binance, so we can actually have a longer graph, as you guys can see here. Please fill me in. I actually forgot that Litecoin has added... that Coinbase has added ZRX and BAT to its exchange, and ETC. Well, I knew Ethereum Classic, but ZRX and Basic Attention Token, 2 new coins. I wasn't even paying attention, didn't even realize that. I know it happened a while ago, but that's pretty cool for all those who don't know. Coinbase Pro is now adding that, so I think that's really cool that they now support that on their network. So that does tell you that Coinbase is going to add those to their portfolio. You might want to look into that too. So ZRX does seem to be hitting some sort of bottom support. You can see right here it's kind of hitting a resistance, and then there's also a support where it's currently at. A small channel right here, as you guys can see. We're trading in between that. Otherwise, the coin doesn't look too bad. I can obviously scale us down a little bit, put one right there, put another one obviously at the bottom right here. There is another one right here. I'm not going to draw that in just yet. You can see we're on the daily. We're literally just entering oversold. If we hug this price and we don't move lower, we definitely could. If we do break lower, I'm anticipating a move down to this level right here. If we hold resistance, we should be able to move back up above this pink line right here. There's some slight resistance up at this level. I'll draw it in a different color. Let's do white. So I do think the market is just consolidating out. A lot of these coins are being affected fairly hard due to the fact that they all fell. You can see the massive spike here held support fairly well though on its high-low MMA for the daily on the red band, but it did fall through. That was almost a no-brainer due to the fact that the whole market decided to take a spill downwards. But consolidating out, we're kind of stuck in between this channel. If all stays well, we should be able to bounce off this bottom support on the RSI, and we should potentially be able to move up, at least retest our high-low MMA. Otherwise, that's going to sum up today's video. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, turn on post notification, leave a giant thumbs up if you like the content and want to see more. And I'll see you guys in tomorrow's episode. Peace.